Hi everyone, I've received some shipped chicken eggs for hatching, so I thought I would share what's worked well for me using an incubator at home. It's pretty simple and so much fun to watch the chicks hatch. If you're hatching for the first time, I'd say try to source your eggs locally, as shipped eggs are often mishandled and can be a bit harder to hatch. If you do order eggs like I have this time, let them rest for 12 to 24 hours on arrival so they reach room temperature and the air sacs can settle. Keep them pointy side down. Egg cartons are perfect for this. These eggs were shipped, so I've let them rest about 16 hours. I number my eggs to track turning and make notes during incubation. Before your eggs arrive, make sure your incubator is running properly. I like to run mine at least 24 hours to confirm a stable temperature. I'm finding that my humidity is a bit high today, so I'll adjust that before setting the eggs. I also use a second thermometer hygrometer inside the incubator since built-in readings can sometimes be off. It's also a good idea to candle your eggs before putting them in the incubator with a built-in light or a flashlight. This can be helpful to check for hairline cracks or any abnormalities which could affect your hatch rate or end up rotting, so they usually aren't worth incubating. I also look at the air sac to make sure it isn't floating around. It's essential for proper development and gives a chick its first air supply during hatch, which can take up to 24 hours or more. At this early stage, the air sac can be hard to see, so don't worry if it's faint. It will become much clearer after a few days. Some eggs may have detached air cells that move when you rotate them. Here's an example. You can see the bubble move as I rotate the egg, but don't confuse this with the yolk, which also moves but is a bit darker. Some people will avoid using these detached air cell eggs, but I've had some decent success letting them develop. It's really up to you, as detached air cells can make hatching trickier for the chicks, so just be prepared. I'm going to keep this egg in the incubator and I'll check it again at the next candling to see if it's developing. This egg has a couple of dark spots and a floating dark mass, which might mean it started developing under a hen before shipping. It's too early to know for sure what's going on, so I'll candle it again in a few days to see if it's progressing. Normally, I recommend to candle on day 7 and not touch your eggs for the first few days, especially if they've been shipped. But if it's your first time incubating, checking them out on day 4 can be pretty cool. You can start to see the development and a little black dot, basically, to give you an idea. I put all eggs in my incubator as well as a few eggs from our own flock to test fertility. My incubator has an automatic turner, and if your incubator does not have one, you will need to rotate or rather flip over your eggs at least 3 times a day by hand. This is another reason it's good to mark or number your eggs so you can keep track of what side they're on. Hens know to do this naturally. I keep a notebook with my numbered eggs so I can remember any quirks and keep track of their development. Now day 7, and I'm candling my eggs to see how they're progressing. This egg is developing well. You can see a little dark spot and good strong blood vessels. Sometimes the dark spot will slightly bounce around, and that is a good sign of life, but there's no need to worry if you don't see any movement. You can also see the air sac at the bottom, wider part of the egg, which is exactly where it should be. I like to draw in pencil where the air sac is, as this little air pocket should dip or recede more and more the further it develops. You'll see when we candle on day 14. This egg is from earlier in the video and it had a detached air sac. This time it is a good example of what an egg looks like when it is not developing or fertilized. So at this stage I'll remove it from the incubator. Developing eggs will have a more pinkish, reddish, darker tone, and you can see this one is still quite yellow, just like the first day I candled it. Here's the other egg I was concerned about that had a couple small dark spots and what kind of looked like a mass. It does look like it's developing and the air sac looks normal too. Maybe it's perfectly fine, but I'm still going to prepare myself to perhaps have it stall out or some other weird situation. Seeing that before incubation is a new one for me, so let's just see how it goes. Here's another developing egg. You can see strong blood vessels, and you'll see them better right in front of you as my camera's not quite picking them up as strong as I see right in front of me. You can also see the air sac looks a bit more jagged than the other egg. Sometimes the air sac can be saddled, which can also happen as a result of being shipped or mishandled. This can also be more challenging hatch for the chick because it can result in it being positioned incorrectly and may not be able to move or turn properly inside the shell. Sometimes they hatch just fine, but sometimes they may need assistance if they make it to hatch. And here's another dead egg looking really yellow, and this one's looking pretty good. If you're ever not sure, just leave it a few more days and check again at the next candling. At this point, I've also removed the eggs from my flock as they were not fertile. Alright, it's day 14 and I'm really excited to show you how some of these shipped eggs have been progressing. Here's a great example of one that's developing really well. You can really see the strong blood vessels throughout the egg and a little dark shadow inside, which is the chick. The air sac is also clearly visible and exactly where it should be. Now here's my mystery egg with the dark mass at the beginning, and it's clearly developing really well. I'm just worried it's going to be a twin or something, but so far so good, so let's just see what happens. It's got great veins and another good air sac. Now here's a good example of a quitter. It's very yellow compared to the eggs that looked really developed, and there's no blood vessels, and unfortunately you can still see a dark shadow, which means this egg was developing but did eventually quit, which is always sad. There's a lot of reasons this can happen, whether it's mishandling during shipping, or it got too cold during shipping, or even your own incubator not holding temperature or humidity properly. Even the health, age, or nutrition of the hen that laid the egg can be a factor. This is another egg that has quit. It's quite murky. There should be a darker shadow, a larger shadow at this stage in development. Sometimes you'll have sloshy contents. Those are all signs of a quitter. Here we have another healthy developing egg. You can see a nice dark shadow in there. And if I turn it around, you can see all these nice blood vessels. So let's check again on day 18 when we're headed into lockdown. If your incubator has an automatic turner, be sure to remove it now. So since I've already removed my quitters on day 14, most of my eggs should look like this by day 18. Nice and full. You can see the air sac is receding even further than it was on day 14. That's all good signs. On some of the eggs, you should even be able to see some feathery looking edges on the shadow if you look really, really close. But this egg looks nice and full as well. Blood vessels tend to not be as visible at this stage, but you can kind of see them on some of the eggs, but don't be alarmed if you don't see them at all. You might even see the chick moving a little bit inside. These all look really good. Let's do one more. Nice and full. Let's see how that air sac is looking. Hasn't receded as much as the others, but we'll see. I'll just show one more where you can really clearly see the air sac and a nice little chick shadow inside. All looks good. Oh, he's moving. So yeah, it's lockdown time and we want to get our humidity bumped up to about 65%, give or take, and keep our temperature nice and stable, and do not open that incubator until everybody's hatched. We had our first pip on the evening of day 20, and by morning a few eggs were starting to zip. If you listen closely, you can hear some chirping. You also might notice that these eggs are in a different incubator than when I started, and that is because I decided to hatch more eggs and use the other incubator because it held more eggs. So now these guys are in here. Sometimes it seems like they cheer each other on. This is actually the egg that had the dark mass at the beginning and was developing all the way through, and now it is hatching and it looks like there's just one chick inside and it looks healthy. So it just goes to show, if you don't know, just wait a little longer. We're hatching 2 black Australorps, 4 lavender Australorps, and a Barnavelder. Here's the Barney. Sometimes you'll see the eggs rocking before they're ready to either pip or zip.